Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the idea of being open, and well, I feel like it was a good start where I was in the last video, and I just wanted to give myself a little bit of time to explore it more. And this is in real time. I didn't do any pre-writing on this, so for that I apologize. But I was thinking about how at different times in my life, the positive change that I've had, the growth, came from me being open and ready for that change to happen. And well, I wish I had, I suppose if I had been journaling my whole life or something, I could go back and see what I was thinking at these different kind of inflection points. See where my head was at. But I do know that I go through periods of more or less openness. And, I might be less open when I've recently changed my mind. So, I would have some openness. I would change my mind on something. And then, to kind of protect myself in this new way of being, I think I would kind of close up and become a little bit maybe dogmatic. But just as a way to defend my new way of being. And it's always something that I do to myself. Like if I have this, new thing that I'm into, new way of exercising or a new way of eating or something, I feel like on some level, I feel like I have to be right, and I have to be very justified in what I'm doing. And I guess it's a moment where I feel vulnerable because, hey, I'm doing this new thing and I could be wrong. And instead of being open and upfront about the possibility that I'm wrong, instead I just kind of lean into it and I'm like, nope, this is the way, and it's perfect. And yeah, and that makes it really hard to go back. Makes it hard to change direction again. And so I think at that point then I just kind of settle into that way of being and dig in. And so I do that cycle over and over. And I think what I would like to do, I think what would make more sense and would be more helpful to me, is to actually, when I am kind of going into a new space mentally, when I'm changing things up, is to frame it both to myself and to anyone I'm talking to about it, to frame it as an experiment. Hey, I'm trying this out. I don't know. It could be a total disaster. I have no idea. But I'm trying it. I just want to play with it, experiment, and that's a much safer way for me to go about my life's changes, I think. Because I need to, after going through all of these different changes so many times, and at times feeling locked in because of how I presented things, because of my ego, I don't want to admit that I was wrong. Then I get stuck there, and it's my own doing. So, yeah, I want to go about things with a little more humility, a little more honesty, and just leave the back door open for myself so that I can exit gracefully if I feel like I should, as opposed to feeling like I got myself into a pickle and can't get out. And I suppose I should include this way of thinking in that process and just kind of admit that, hey, I don't know how I will feel about this in 6 months or a year or 5 years from now. That whatever I'm doing, it's a process, and if history is any indication, then I probably have not landed on the end-all, be-all, ultimate truth. Not yet, anyway. That's one of the benefits about, being able to see the ways in which I've been wrong, because it's happened enough where I've thought something was a particular way and then it turned out to not be that way. That's happened to me enough that I can say with more or less certitude that I'm always wrong at some level. So I can maybe stop worrying about being perfect, about being correct. And instead, somebody saying hey to me? What was that? Where are you looking right now? That was weird. Anyway, I heard somebody say hey. And now I've lost my train of thought. Where was I? And all of a sudden there's a lot of traffic on this road. I feel like there aren't usually this many cars. Hold on a sec. Okay. I really can't remember exactly what I was saying right then, but I know it had to do with being wrong, and just having it, over the years, having it beaten into my head that whatever I thought was A+ gold might have only been a B-, like good, but not perfect, and not worth killing myself to defend. What's going on here? By the way, my brother-in-law informed me that just a little while ago he saw a cougar right here on the road. It was right back there, and it ran up the hill, and kind of low-key hoping I get to see it, because I've never seen a cougar here, and this is where I grew up, so I'm kind of disappointed and bitter about that. I still haven't figured out how this camera works. Still lose it, or it still loses me when it's doing its face tracking thing. Well, maybe I'm just I'm setting the stage for upgrading. I want to feel justified in buying the latest and greatest. I feel that a lot. It's the constant pull of more and better, and that's its own whole emotional thing. Like I'm afraid of, I don't know, like I'm not enough. Always got to have something better. Gosh, there's so much there on just working on yourself and your emotions, and seeing what types of things are pulling the strings, behind the scenes. Like, what's making me do all of the things that I do? What types of unmet needs are the driving force? It always seems to go back to just things that happen in childhood, and that sets the stage for everything. Which, as a parent, kind of terrifies me, because that means that things that I'm doing now are potentially leading to a lot of trouble for my children. Things that I'm not aware of, and things that I am aware of but haven't figured out how to do better. But it's really obvious now just how incredibly important the psychological development of a child is. No, camera, why are you looking over there? We're here. Come on. I don't get that. Okay. Yeah, it's funny how my dysfunctions, my emotional issues, get over here, camera, are naturally going to be passed along to our children, because their whole psychology is being formed. Isn't that wild? Like, it's not like you can change so much about a human's psychology, how their brain works. I mean, it's cool, but it's also crazy. Makes me, one thing I think of is the phenomenon of a human being raised by another species. And I think the classic example is like a human raised by wolves, and it does happen occasionally where you have something like that. And the way I understand it, the reports that I've been exposed to just show that the children in those circumstances, which obviously is a very extreme, very unusual circumstance, but it has happened. A kid ends up being raised by wolves or dogs. And excuse me, I gotta eat some blackberries here. Oh yeah. These are like the last ones of the season. Okay, camera, you're really starting to piss me off. And, well, those kids, they don't really turn out human. And yeah, they have the body of a human, but psychologically, they're dogs. They act like the animal that raised them. They imprinted on them. And they won't ever change back. Like, it's over, it's done. The psychology is set. They won't learn a verbal language. They won't stop barking, or howling or whatever. They'll be running around on all fours, and that's crazy just how malleable the psychology of a child is. Camera. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn off face tracking. We're at the fly manual here. Okay. So those kids, a kid raised by wolves, effectively becomes a wolf. That's how thoroughly the human psyche will mold and adapt during childhood. And if a child's psyche can do that, then it can easily mold to anything that its parents, human parents, are dishing out. And that includes how they feel about themselves. That's the big one. How do they conceptualize themselves? Do they believe intrinsically? Is there a foundational belief that they are good and correct and valuable? Or do they think that everything they do is wrong? That they always have to be corrected because there's something incorrect about their natural way of being? And I gotta say, it really seems like when we, as parents, or just other people around children, when we correct them, when we instruct them, when we try and coerce a certain type of behavior, we are effectively telling them, you are incorrect. Not what you're doing is incorrect, but you as a person, you're not right. And stop being you. Stop, the person that you are now, you need to stop that, and you need to be something else in order for me to approve of you. I don't know if that hits you the way it hits me, but man, that's kind of painful. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not how a child interprets it, but that's where I'm at now. That's what the people I trust on the topic believe, whatever that's worth. And my own personal experience, both in my own, parenting experience, my observations of parents, and then my own, there was a little salamander or something, and then my own awareness of my own psychology. All of those kind of seem to confirm that, and so I'm very much inclined to believe it. So now I'm trying to kind of reformulate how I think in relation to children and how they develop psychologically. Because I do want my children to have the baseline belief, subconscious stuff that says I'm valuable, I'm good, my instincts are good, and that my contribution is valued. Those are things that I want my children to feel. And if I want them to feel that, then I have to do those things for them. I have to accept and value their contributions. Even if my toddler's contribution is to make a mess of the dinner preparation that I'm working on. Because they will invariably make a mess because they don't know how to do it yet. And you might be thinking, well, hey, then you have to teach them. Well, maybe not. Maybe the way to teach them is to just be patient and let them figure it out and to model the appropriate behavior. And if I'm always stopping them and correcting them, or worse, just plain flat out rejecting them and their contribution, like getting angry and stopping them and removing them from my process. Say, hey, go play with your toys, I need to work right now. When I do that, that's telling them really loud and clear, you're not welcome, your contribution isn't helpful, and I don't like it. Go away. And then I think a lot of parents find themselves in the position of wondering why their teenagers are so unhelpful. Why is it so hard to get them to do their chores? I wonder. Isn't this great up here? I love walking up here. It's just a old logging road behind the house where I grew up, which that house is through the trees down that way. I should probably turn around here and start heading back because my wife and kid are certainly awake from their nap by now, and there's things to do. All right, I think I'll wrap it up there. That was plenty of rambling for one go. But thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time for more musings about things that keep me up at night. All right, have a great day.